Hey onesies, Josh Williams here, and thanks for checking out this week's episode of the One Man Podcast. It's always free and available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and many more, as well as on the web at onemanpodcast.com. So please, whatever platform you're listening on, like and subscribe. While you're at it, give it a rating, leave a review. Why? Because it helps the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. How about that? What about social media? Search One Man Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with what's going on there. Get a little extra content for yourself. And finally, to get in touch, please send your emails to contact@onemanpodcast.com. You send it, I read it on the podcast. That's the deal. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
What's up, everybody? This is DJ Demers.
I'm K. Trevor Wilson.
Hey, it's Krista Allen.
Hi, this is Rick Mercier.
What's up, guys? This is Paul Verzi, and you are listening to the One Man Podcast. Yeah!
My name is Josh Williams, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 198 for Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. How's it going, onesies? How are you guys doing? You having a good week so far? You enjoying yourselves? Here in the Ottawa area, things are open again slowly, so hopefully you're getting out and getting some of the things that you wanted to get done before they shut it all down, huh? Back in 2020, right before the old birthday of baby Jesus. I have had a busy week, but the busy parts of it are predominantly stuff coming up for the 200th episode. So while I have been working away on some things, I don't have a whole lot to report to you guys. So I got a couple little things I'll tell you. And while I was working, I did watch some movies. So it's going to be a kind of a movie review podcast. All right. I'll tell you some other stuff. So I spent a day just picking up a friend. I'll tell you guys about that. I did do a spot at Absolute Comedy on Sunday night. They asked me to come in and do a guest spot. I did, and I'll tell you how that went. And, just basically, I'll do the what is it? The shopkeeping. What do they call it? Not the bookkeeping, not the shopkeeping, the house cleaning. Do the house cleaning right off the top. So I also went to Costco with a friend of mine. And got some stuff that's not even worth mentioning, but that was just my time out back in the populace this week. Was me and a friend of mine, wearing masks in the car, and then went Costco shopping together. I try to, help those out who A, don't have a membership, B, don't have vehicles to get some groceries. I don't like to use the word hero very often. No, I'm having the older I get, I'm actually enjoying helping other people more. And that's not always huge things, just little favors and stuff. Whereas the young Josh would have been like, I'd be not proud to say, Jesus Christ, it's, still early in the day. I'm already starting the yawn. Yawn number one, according to my recorder, less than 2 minutes in. How about that? But I have been burning the candle at both ends. And I'm really happy with the work that I'm doing, and I'm excited for you to hear what's going on. I also recorded another one of my little bonus interviews, not a full bonus episode, but just stuff that I'm doing for the 200th episode. The 200th episode is going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be the best piece of entertainment ever recorded. Not by a long shot, but stay tuned. I'm very excited. I'm working on a lot of different things for that. The boxes, I did some origami. Is that what it's called? No, I just did some folding for the presentation of that. So I'm quite literally, I got all of the packing peanuts in the boxes and all of the orders put together. And I'm just waiting for the last item to come in so that I can put that in the box. And then, the way it's presented is just absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. Like you open it up, and right from the moment you open it up, you get like, ooh, look at this. And I'm happy with it, but it all takes time to develop, right? Like, again, everything in this box, I'm not even talking about the quality of the stuff. I'm just saying, like, even just the presentation of everything in the box, like the coffee mugs come in a box with labeling, and I wrap the mugs in paper and everything. So like you would open this up, and when you get the mugs, you would think like, oh, wow, that's so cool that they wrapped them and labeled them for you. And it's like, no, I did all that. I got a box with mugs in little plastic sleeves. I took them out. I wrapped everything. It's so important to me that the presentation is nice, that everything looks good, that it's an actual experience when you guys open this. I I have spared no expense, and I have pulled out all the stops. And part of it is just once they go into these boxes, just how do I organize them? What goes where so that everything fits? And it's funny because the boxes that I ordered had to be a certain size. So there is I don't want to say a lot of dead space because there isn't, but there are some like right in the middle. There's kind of like some dead space. But who knows when this last item comes in, maybe it'll fill it up. So it's just whatever. It is what it is. I'm having a blast. I'm really enjoying and it's funny too to be figuring out that's where a lot of the movies and shows came from, packing all these boxes and packing peanuts. I actually, this giant, larger than a garbage bag sized thing of packing peanuts came. And I was like, at first I was like, I'm gonna have way too many. And then I was like, fuck, am I not gonna have enough? And it turns out I had exactly enough to fill the 25 boxes. So that worked out perfectly. Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. And it's fun. The engineering of when I'm trying to put stuff in, I'm like, I want it to have a certain look. When you open it up, I want it to kind of pop at you, whatever. So yeah, I'm just having fun engineering that kind of stuff. And it's now it's all done. It's just a matter of that last item comes. I can open up everyone's boxes, put the stuff in, and then we are good to go. Yeah. And you'll hear about that. They expect last week of February, first week of March. So right around the time of the 200th episode. It's working out great. But yeah, so I did an extra bonus interview today, bonus interview today that will be coming out. The results of that will be out in the 200th episode. What else? I have been editing the talks that I did do. So a thing to just keep in mind is I don't know if I've already told you guys what I was planning on doing, but the 200th episode, some of it is just I'm going to be having some guests on. There'll be featured interviews that have already happened, but you guys will get some of the more prominent interviews that I've done, the people who are available and things like that. I got everybody that I wanted to get. That's the good news. I got everybody that I wanted to get. And I'm really looking forward for you guys to hear, these extra little talks that we've got. And, the thing was, and I already mentioned this, that I haven't chatted with these people in a while. Okay. Ow. Chest still hurts, by the way. Excuse me. Yeah, I haven't chatted with these people in a while. So when I got in touch with them, it was really, hey, how are you? All this stuff. So I've got all these 40-minute long conversations, and I've got almost 10 of them so far. I think I'm at 9 that I've recorded so far. So it's just kind of I gotta edit. We keep going back and forth from the story. So how are you doing? How's it been? How are things? And you're that kind of stuff. So I've got to spend a lot of time editing this down. And at the same time, I can't put 10 40-minute conversations into one episode. Can you imagine how long that'd be? Me, I don't have a problem with things that are running long, but for this, but it just going long for the sake of going long. And then of course for you guys to hear me tell a bunch of different people in different areas, what it's been like in Ottawa and stuff like that. Some of it's the same sort of, conversation. So, but editing them into a way that makes sense, cutting those parts out and putting them back in. It also means that I'm listening to, 10 40-minute long interviews plus all the extra time it takes to cut and then, close them. Does that sound seamless? So some of these conversations you may hear a little blip sound, but you know what? Funny enough, there's enough people that stutter in conversation and things like that where I'm listening to them and it sounds like there's cuts where there isn't. That's just my cuts actually sound better than them just talking in some places. Cause there's some people I think it was things like that. And you're it sounds like it's cut. It's not, that's just the way they're talking. And some of my things, I take out basically I have to make these as short as possible with still the good content. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a long episode regardless, the 200th. So, that's, like I said, I'm working, I'm getting a lot of stuff prepared. Just the fruits of my labors will not be apparent in this episode. They will be abundantly apparent in the 200th episode of the podcast. So I'm really looking forward to getting that stuff out with you guys. I also, recorded, a new intro for the podcast. I recorded a trailer for the podcast. All of these things required scripting first because it's funny enough, you'd think just talking, I'm it's just an intro, but I'm yeah, but I wanted to make it as short as possible. You guys have heard the old one. Hey, onesies, thanks for blah, blah, blah. Well, some of the stuff in that is different now. We're over 200 episodes. There's some other things. So I'm just like, we should record a new intro. And, just wrote that out, trying to make it as quick and to the point as possible while hitting all the things important. Sorry, that's for the people who like it and for the people who don't. I embellish the slurp. So yeah, there's that. And then I did a podcast teaser, I call it, in the sense that there's a lot of people who will be like, oh, you have a podcast, and they'll just jump in wherever and they don't know what to expect. So I'm kind of like, you know what? Rather than me trying to tell people, hey, find some interviews or maybe this episode or try to find someone wherever, because it's just I'm going to just point people to the teaser and go, here's a little 3-minute explanation of what my podcast is. It's a trailer, a teaser, whatever. And listen to that. That'll tell you what to expect. And then wherever you jump in, you'll go in with that expectation. So if you jump into an episode from 2018, well, you know what to expect. You know what I mean? You're going to be listening to me in my life 3 years ago. So just little things like that I've been working on. Again, that required scripting. I took 100 and some takes for the teaser one, only because I was trying to just explain off the top of my head. And as you guys know, I could just go in a bunch of different directions while trying to explain something. And you're trying to remember all the things you want to talk about. And at one point, I think after half an hour of doing recordings, I was just like, you know what? I'm not happy with any of these and I need to script it. I need to stop trying to just, I'll say everything I need to say. I'll stop and just pull out the computer and write everything out. And that's what I did. I started to type it all out and what other points do I want to hit and write this out. And that took a bunch of time. And then when I was recording, I was trying to get the whole thing out in one take. And even though I'm reading everything, and of course I'm reading, and even as I'm reading it on the paper that I printed, I'm crossing out certain words and changing them, handwriting new things, whatever. And I'm not going to get this in one take. And I'm like, we don't have to get it in one take, stupid. You can edit it together afterwards. So I started just trying to nail the paragraph, just nail that paragraph. And then we can stitch all the stuff together afterwards. And then when I did one that I was happy with, I would write down the recording number of that one so that I would just work, just been working, and I'm happy to do it. So, new content, new intros, new teasers, all that stuff. When you guys get the teaser, I think I'm glad. Do I really need to tell you about this? Well, I don't mind telling you, because at least now when you get a notification that there's a new episode out or whatever, and it says One Man Podcast teaser, you'd be like, what? Well, it's that's what it is. That's what the teaser is. So it's something that I can point people to. And if you have a friend or somebody that you want, share that with them. Just share the teaser, and then they can decide for themselves if they want to listen to it. And thank you for all of the downloads as of late. I got people listening all over the world. Very, very happy for that. Very grateful for that. Thank you to everyone who's been sharing the podcast with friends. Again, really, truly appreciate that. I appreciate any of the time that you guys spend with me. I really do. You don't have to. There's quite literally probably at this point 1 million podcasts out there. A big thing, you couldn't get podcast equipment when the pandemic started. And I'm glad I already had mine. But everyone's like, oh, well, I'm stuck at home. Might as well start a podcast. That's just, and everyone just thinks it's that easy. And it's cool. I'm just glad that you guys still choose to spend time with me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll probably kiss your ass some more on the 200th, but it's 198 here. 2 more to go. This one and the next one, guys. And then we made it. And I've also got some other ideas and stuff that I won't tell you about that will move beyond the 200th episode. But for now, let's full steam ahead on this one. Okay, so well, I'll tell you about how I bombed. Oh, yeah, I'm also writing another thing for the 200th. I didn't tell you about, but I'm writing it, and I hope you guys enjoy that. I think it's gonna be funny and goofy, and it touches on some stuff I've sort of talked about in regards to podcasts and stuff. So the main 2 stories besides movies I'm going to be talking about this week are my spot at Absolute Comedy and picking my friend up. So, as I mentioned, did a spot at Absolute Comedy on Sunday night. I was supposed to do a spot on Wednesday, and I bailed on it. I didn't no show. I just told Jay, I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't have anything prepared or whatever. But since Jay, actually, maybe I should do that thing. I'll plug it right now. Starting the day that this comes out, the 24th of February, I'm going to be hosting at Absolute Comedy all week. So if you want to come see yours truly live, do some new stuff, and honestly some stuff that works. That's a thing. So come see me. Absolutecomedy.ca. You can buy your tickets there. I got asked to do a spot on Sunday night, and since I booked this week of hosting, I'm like, I'd better shake the cobwebs off. And I went into the club. I was going to do what I thought it said on the sheet 12 minutes. So I was preparing a longer set. I actually thought I was going to be doing like 10 or 12 during the day too. So I kind of prepared this longer set. And then quite literally right before I went to the green room to grab the mic, because we do this kind of like wireless mic that gets sanitized in between the acts. So I went into the green room to get the mic from the person who was sanitizing it. And I turn around and I see on the wall while I'm on my way to stage, it says 8 minutes. Because I remember the comic before me, I thought we were both doing 12, and she got off like, I'm like looking at my watch and I'm like, she just did like 8.5 minutes. Fuck, did she end early? I'm like, or maybe she's just doing less time and I'm doing more, like whatever it was. Because the middle usually does 20 to 25 minutes. And more often, like in the last couple of years, the middles do more like 20. So I figure, well, 8 and 12 is 20 minutes. And me and this other person are doing the spots. So anyways, I see on the wall 8 minutes and I'm like, fuck. And I'm like walking to the stage. I had my set all planned out, like with what jokes I was going to do and how long they take. And I just was like, okay, I'll try to pull this out and pull that. Hey guys, how's it going? Like, I'm still not quite with it because I'm trying to do the edits in my head. All right, well, let's pull this out. Let's take that out. And I was just like, and for some reason the crowd didn't seem to be with me right away. How about that? And I just realized that I had something else this week that I wanted to tell you guys about. I really got to start keeping better notes. So yeah, and actually, so whatever, I'll tell you about the thing and then I'll add this other little story in. So I get on stage. For some reason, they're not liking me right off the top. I had this thing, because I told you guys I went to the hospital. I got my blood work done, and I had this horrible bruise on my arm, which I still do from the blood work. And I wanted to tell them about that. I wanted to tell them about the experience, about the doctor. Hey, you bought yourself some blood work or whatever. And just like, how did she know there was nothing wrong with me without seeing any of my test results? Like 2 of the tests I didn't even have before she talked to me. And then the other one, she didn't even realize I'd had. So I'm like, how are you telling me that I'm fine? There's nothing wrong if you haven't checked anything. Anyways, so I just wanted to chat that. I was going to, go into my sleep apnea a bit and some other stuff. And this joke I hadn't flushed out, but I thought I had enough time to open with something established, kind of talk out the new one, and then close with something strong. And what ended up happening was I opened okay, and then I tried to go into this new thing and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. I was cutting shit out. I was trying to talk about stuff. I bombed. I didn't get crickets, but I got the professional version of bombed, which is you get a few laughs, but you can do better. So that sucked. And that was like, okay, well, but it's been a month since I've done stand up and I have a full week of hosting coming up. So I broke the rust off and I'll definitely be working. I mean, it's funny. I got to be on stage tomorrow night and I'm like, oh, I'll have some time to prepare. I'm like, I haven't done shit. I've been working on all sorts of other things. I need to get my fucking set together. So, and it's a lesson in, well, whatever. I told my buddy who's on the show me, I go, look, I didn't prepare anything for tonight. And my buddy, Paul Verzi, I know it's not his quote, but he's the one I heard it from, which is failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So I did not prepare and I definitely failed. So I prepared to fail and I'm going to make sure that I get some shit done correct so that this weekend is not garbage. It's not going to be. Like I don't put together 2 bombs in a row. So, it keeps me humble. And I was actually having quite a lot of success with all the stuff that I'm working on. Little lessons learned too. Like I know that writing stuff down, it's just intimidating as a creator, at least, when you're like me and you're bouncing around with a bunch of different projects. Like just the idea of sitting down to write is almost like, oh, if I write though, I'm going to fuck up and I'm going to do poorly. And, I'm going to see that I got nothing to say and all this stuff. And it just makes it's that voice in your head that just wants you to fail, that wants you not to try. And I was having good success this week, just with, like I said, just trying, I'll just talk out those intros and those trailers and those whatever. And it didn't work. And as soon as I was like, just write it out. Tons of success with that. And then when I was doing it the one way, I'll just read it all in one take. I'm just reading it. How can I fuck that up? Well, I've read shit out loud before. It doesn't sound great. sometimes you just like break it down, break it into pieces, write down what piece, take the recording number, and just breaking it down, make it easy. It was a joke afterwards. It sounded great, way better than any of the stuff I just recorded off the cuff. And I'm happy with that though. It just goes to show, like, if you work on something, you'll do well. I wasn't intimidated with these long interview portions that I'd done, only because of the fact that, I'm like, well, the thing is there. I was just like, I just worry about, how long it's going to take and the discipline to sit down and do it. And the thing too is when you're editing, I don't have an editing background. I'm just doing what I think sounds good. But there's that old saying, perfect is the enemy of good, because the more you can edit something just absolutely into oblivion where it doesn't sound anything natural or anything like that. And I'm worried that that's what I would do. I've done a few of them so far and I'm actually really happy with how they sound. But I'm worried in the moment. I'm just a worrier, right? The doctor, you always this nervous? Yes. I'm always anxious. I'm always concerned. I'm always overthinking. It's just the way it is. So, and anyways, that's the thing. And of course, not preparing to do well, on that spot. I will say that I did have stuff prepared in terms of like a set, but then when you take 33% of that set out and the way you've got it, like when one of the bits is like 7.5 minutes long, 8 minutes long, and you got to take it, well, like all that other stuff that builds it up, like there goes the new joke that I wanted to do. Right. So I'm like, well, I'll put the new joke in. Well, now I can't do the 7-minute joke because there's not enough time. So what else am I going to film? And all this while walking the stage. So I bombed, or I did not do well, but I personally, I think I know that losing the time definitely impacted it. Also, having said that, I got an offer from Just for Laughs to record a little something that they will attempt to submit to Sirius and stuff like that at Yuck Yucks. There's like a dress rehearsal for it on the 7th, and then it'll be recorded on either the 8th or 9th at Yuck Yucks downtown. Still trying to decide what joke I want to do for them, but it's like a 10-minute set. So I've read the thing twice. I know how much time it is. I want to make sure that I get the right set of time down. But anyways, so that was the thing. I got a haircut at home this week, getting pampered like a champ. So my friend is a hairdresser. I won't say her name just because I don't want to get her shit. You're not supposed to be doing this, but throughout COVID, when they were shut down, she was doing like backyard haircuts and stuff like that. So people would hire just to come to the house, sit in a chair. She cuts your hair. I needed a cut for the shows this week. So I think she came last Saturday, and actually Jason was saying that he needed his haircut too. So I'm like, hey, do you want to do a couple monkeys' hairs in the living room? So she came in with her mask and she cut her hair. Groovy. Good times. That was the thing. And then had my fresh do on Sunday night. Still feeling fresh. So yeah, that was just a cool thing. I was just chatting with her and I'm like, are you comfortable doing this? She's like, well, I kind of prefer it. And of course, with the way that stuff is going at the salons, whatever, they're at half capacity because of the fact that they've got, they have to put 6 feet between the chairs or whatever. So now there's like half the place doesn't have their people, right? So she's reduced hours and so she's like, yeah, this way I can still make the money, and if people are comfortable with it, it's good. She's careful. Like I said, she's wearing her mask and there's not a whole lot of, contact going on. It's not like we're sitting in the chair coughing in her face or something. It's like, you're touching my hair, you're washing your hands, you're washing your tools. Like I'm kind of okay with that. I know that she's going into other places and stuff, but wearing a mask, you're not coughing, you're not touching my, my eyes or sticking your fingers in my mouth. And when this is over, I'm running upstairs into the shower anyways. So anyways, I don't know. You know what? You can judge. It's fair. It's fair. I did my risk assessment and I'm comfortable with the outcome. We sprayed down the chair. We sat in a big open living room, whatever. And we washed the chair afterwards with Lysol wipes. So like anything that was touched that was not ours, and she's got hers. Anyways, whatever. It is what it is. And I'm okay with that risk. Not to mention the fact that it's a friend and I'm helping, keep them. I mean, it's not like my one cut, but we just talked about, hey, like if this is something you want to do on the regular, like I'm good with doing it this way if you are. She seemed cool with it. So thank you very much, my friend, also a listener of the podcast. So just wanted to say thanks for that. That was very cool. Let me cross out this whole bombed at Absolute Comedy thing. Yeah. And so the other story, I gotta stop clicking this pen. The other story is, is the last story I have. Holy shit, 23 minutes. I'm burning through this. I'll save it for the end of the podcast. Hopefully make it something mildly interesting. But yeah, like I said, guys, I mean, I'm trying to let you know what's going on with me. It hasn't been a particularly funny week outside of the interviews. Like, I'm laughing at myself with all these extra takes. Like, I part of me was almost like when I was recording everything that I wanted to save all of the fuck ups that I did for like a blooper reel. And I'm like, I've already got so much editing to do. I already have so much content to get ready in less than 2 weeks. Well, about 2 weeks time. So I'm like, dude, just do it. Just do the regular stuff. Don't look for new projects. Like, you have tons of shit for the 200th. Really looking to make up for the 100th episode. That was just kind of like, But 200 will be the most work I've ever put into a single episode. So don't you worry. It's going to be great. I got to tell myself to fucking calm down. So I will tell you the story of me going to pick up my friend near the end. And let's get into a couple of these movies and stuff that I watched. Okay. I finished Dr. Sleep. Okay. That was the one that was the Stephen King sort of sequel to The Shining. It didn't stay as violent. There was that one scene that I was describing where I turned it off, and that was the worst of it. I could have just kept going. It didn't really get any worse than that throughout the course of the movie. It's, I guess, fascinating. It's one of those ones where like you're entertained by it, and I was compelled by the story. Like, I kept watching, but the story didn't get overly good. It's basically like broad strokes without really spoiling anything. Is there's people out in the world that are like that live an incredibly long time because they find people who shine and kill them and then suck out their essence, which they call steam. So it's like when you get stabbed, it's like but it was weird. They never really explained why people omit steam. It's not like killing someone in the winter. It's like, oh, that's just heat. It's like, how come when you stab someone who shines, there's like steam that comes in? They never addressed it. It was just like, so that's what they were doing to that kid that I was talking about that upset me. It was like they were taking his steam. And then, of course, there's this little girl who shines just as strong, if not stronger, than Danny. The little boy from the main, the original story. So it was just kind of like these people are trying to, kill little shiners and suck out their life force to live forever. They never really explain what they're about, just that they do that. And I think like there's a lot of like possessing other people's bodies. Like, these people who shine can take over someone else's body. And so like that becomes a little bit of a thing that they do a few times where someone will take over someone else. A lot of going into each other's minds now. It's like your mind is like a library or a filing cabinet. So they use the elements of Stephen King's Dreamcatcher, where it was like going into the mind. So a big library, file, archive, whatever. It was almost like they were just taking different elements from his movie. And then at the end, it's kind of like, well, we've got to stop this major person. Well, let's give them what they want. And then it just becomes kind of like a giant cameo of the hotel where they return to the Overlook. And that's where they're going to, finish this. And I think that something that maybe ruined it for me in the sense that like I wasn't loving it was that Jason was fucking with the internet again because he got yet another new system for the house that's got issues. Again, I can't get my regular network to work now. Luckily the Wi-Fi works, so I'm not out of internet. It's just annoying. But, like I would watch 3 minutes and then would freeze again for 15 minutes while Jay was updating firmware or something. So like I tried to watch the climax of this movie over the span of 2 hours, 3 minutes at a time. So that kind of took away a lot of it. But overall, Dr. Sleep, which I'm watching on Crave TV, it's better than I expected. But in the nature of a Stephen King story, it's sort of just kind of going all over the place and more about like, ooh, isn't it grandiose that they're back in the hotel and it's a final showdown? And really not a whole lot going on, like not making sense of stuff. I don't know. I watched a movie called Unhinged with Russell Crowe. Is there one? Yeah, its name is Russell Crowe, Gladiator guy, Russell Crowe. That's one where like some woman cuts him off in traffic or something, or goes around him or honks at him in traffic. And he's like, do you want to apologize? I'm sorry if I was in your way. And, do you want to apologize? And she's like, no. Like, nope. And then he spends the rest of the movie trying to make her sorry for not apologizing to him. And hence the title of the movie, This Guy's Unhinged. It's just a standard thriller or whatever. I didn't find it particularly good. Like, it starts off with a lot of potential. And you're like, oh, this looks pretty intense. Fizzles out so fucking fast. But, you know, it's on Netflix. So if you want to take a look, just my opinion, I'm not looking to shit on movies. I'm just finding there's like a lot of like lax sort of endings of things nowadays. Speaking, I did watch, I've only got a few other ones here. You know what I started watching just midway through the season? I was looking for something while I was eating yesterday. I started watching, just grabbed an episode from the middle of season 4 of Better Call Saul. That's a great fucking show. That's an amazing show. And it's so good that I was trying to put on entertain myself for 20 minutes. And I ended up watching the rest of the season just while I was doing stuff. I'm just such a great show. I can't wait. Season 5 is supposed to come out at any point this year. Traditionally, AMC releases it on Netflix the week before the new season comes out. So season 5 has already been created and released to the general public on regular cable platforms. But it'll be on Netflix, I guess, right before season 6, which is the final season. Disappointed to say, because I loved it. Love that show. And if you haven't watched, if you've never watched Breaking Bad, for starters, okay. If you've watched Better Call Saul, but not Breaking Bad, can you write into the podcast? Because I'd love to know what somebody who doesn't know the characters thinks of it. Like, obviously Better Call Saul is the prequel to Breaking Bad in a sense, but it's I think it's phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think you have to watch Breaking Bad first. But Better Call Saul on Netflix, unbelievable show, 4 seasons available. Absolutely, the law in it is great. It's not, I mean, it does have the crime and everything, but it's not as much about the, it's more about the law stuff, which I really, really like just watching manipulate. And there's been a lot of people who've, lawyers and everything said that in terms of law shows, it's one of the most accurate ones in terms of the stories and the methods used and everything like that. So, great show. Great show. And I like law stuff. Speaking of which, I watched a documentary on Netflix called The Staircase, which after watching it and getting to the last episode, and this is one that kept me up to 5 o'clock in the morning when I was right at the end of it. And I thought there was 11 episodes. So I'm like, oh, I can finish the 11th one. It'll only be 2:30, 3 o'clock when it's over. And then it ends. I was like, what the fuck? That was it. And then it's the next episode. I'm like, oh my God, there's another one. There's 12. And I watched them. I was like, fuck, there's 13. And luckily 13 was the last one. And the last few are just kind of eh. They're not bad. They're just they're not as compelling as the earlier parts of the case. A guy finds his wife at the bottom of the staircase, bleeding to death, unconscious, and then gets, accused of her murder. And then you're just following this trial. Like he's a murderer. He killed his wife. Look at all these injuries to her head. Yeah, but the injuries don't have any skull fractures. Yeah, they beat her over the head with this, but how? She's not got any brain trauma. It's just this, it's another Making a Murderer, not as compelling as Making a Murderer, but it's my understanding that, like I said, from the last episode, that this was something that was on YouTube or something, like a French documentary team did it. And I think they had it on YouTube or something. And then Netflix must have acquired it to do on their platform. So because in the final episodes, they're talking about the documentary that people were watching. And it's well, if they've already watched it, how are we seeing it here on Netflix? And they're still part of the episode. You're on the thing talking about the documentary and what you saw and what he said and everything like that. So, fascinating. If you like again, legal stuff, going back to the courtroom stuff and who's doing what and is it fair, whatever, it's another one of those Making a Murderer ones. I will tell you this, there's a resolution. I'm not telling you whether he was innocent or guilty or anything like that, but unlike other mentioned ones, you're not watching something and going okay, that's great. What happens at the end? Fucking nothing, and then, oh, there's a second season of it. Okay, great. We're getting an update a few years later. All right. What's going on with that? Still nothing? Fuck. I can't get emotionally invested in these fucking things and then just to find out that nothing happens. I know as much about it as I did, when they first pitched it to me in the opening minutes. None of them have been as bad as that Cecil Hotel one. Don't waste your fucking time with the Cecil Hotel the documentary. 4-part garbage. All right. Bitching about movies, bitching about TV, bitching about stuff. Okay. I watched, let's cross out the staircase here. We got three more to go, guys. 3 more to go. We're banging them out. The staircase, I will say watched. It's compelling. It kept me up late. It's so fucked up, man. Like, there's so much of this stuff that just makes you lose faith in the legal system. And I know you got to keep in mind too, it's a documentary and they want to put, like, they're putting their twist on it. So obviously, like, you could create something that only shows it kind of one-sided, but when you're watching even what they're showing you with courtroom footage and facts and evidence, sometimes you look at this stuff and you go, how does anybody not see that doesn't make sense? And then you're like, there's no way that, this person's going to get like, and then, things come in, you're like, what were they thinking? I hope I never get mixed up in the justice system because it doesn't look like you get anything fair. And then they'll come back and they'll show, look how unfair this was because this was corrupt and this was corrupt. And it's like, yeah, we don't see anything wrong with it. It's like, what? How the fuck do you not see, like, and you do this every day? Like, you just wonder how many fucking people are just getting thrown away. But they do make one point is that the guy who's defending himself is like, he's like, it's just funny because, like, look at these legal fees. He's like, people wonder, like, why do the rich guys always get away with it? And he's like, because they're the ones that have the money to defend themselves. It's not even, maybe not even all the rich guys are guilty. Like, it's not that the system is like, well, the system part of it, the law and stuff, but or lawyers as well. But it's just that it's not even that, like, the poor people, they want you to go to jail. It's just, you just don't have the means to defend yourself. Right? You're not getting the best lawyers. You're getting some guy who's like, is this the murder weapon? Is there blood on it? Can we send it for DNA or whatever? Like, just that kind of shit. You don't get the people who are like, look at this and look at that and look at this argument and look at that. And we found these emails and we want to subpoena this and da da da. And it's just like, you get people that fight for you when you can afford it. But if you can't afford to defend yourself, it's like, well, the prosecutor can. He's got all the fucking resources that he wants. You know what I mean? So he can build a case against you. And that's the whole idea, is win. We want to be the winningest fucking state or city or whatever. We want our guys to, our DA gets shit done. He wins every case he does, like, and then it's like, whatever. You watch it. It's interesting. I watched a movie called Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. I believe it was on Amazon Prime. And it's just this goofy movie about, a zombie apocalypse in a small town and these 3 kids who are scouts. And, one of them's super into it and the other 2 are like, we've been scouts since we're little kids. We want to stop this. But then, of course, if you can guess, they use their little noggins and the things that they've learned as scouts to, to fight the zombie hordes. And there's, a hot chick with a shotgun and a motorcycle and all that standard stuff. But it's a fun little romp, stupid, whatever. But if you keep in mind, I'm trying to find the stuff that I can put on in the background while I'm actually working and not distract me too much. So I'll just throw something on. If I miss half of it, I miss half of it. But yeah, that one was interesting. The staircase started as that, and then it got so compelling that I had to stop what I was doing. Like I said, done at like midnight, and I'm in bed for 5 hours watching episodes, and watching while I'm eating or something like that, or packing boxes. The packing boxes part's easy because it doesn't require my brain. But as soon as I start doing audio editing and things like that require me to pay attention to the conversation, I can't listen to the other stuff. Scout's Guide's cute. That's it. Cute, stupid. Give it a watch. It has their main character is the guy who was in Ready Player One. So he's the same kid who played that guy. I don't even know his name. He also played Cyclops in the newer X-Men movies. So, he's I think this one was maybe prior to him getting some of the bigger roles, but it's also got David Koechner in it, the guy who looks like he had a stroke. Mouth hangs to the side. He's been in The Office. He was one of the newscasters and anchorman. He's in everything. Played the manager in the movie Waiting. You'd recognize him if you saw him. 2 more. I was chatting with Simon, and Simon has this big Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure poster outside of his room. And I was like, oh, hey, have you seen that, Face the Music, Bill and Ted Face the Music, the new one that just came out? And he's like, I own it. And I was like, well, sir, I would like to watch that. And so he gave it to me, and I love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, guys. Bill and Ted was one of those movies I grew up with. I watched several times. I remember seeing it at the Mayfair, which was this old theater on like some sort of day trip at the community center. I remember watching it. It had my all-time favorite comedian, George Carlin, in it. He played Rufus. And I was just like, oh, I'm so excited to see this. And it got like a good review on Rotten Tomatoes and everything. Oh my God, this is going to be, not it's going to be great, but I'm like, hopefully it was worth the wait. You know what I mean? Another movie that the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater was Ghostbusters. And my mom was just telling me how like I was just this little baby or toddler, whatever. There's nobody else in the theater during the day. It was just them. And she was saying how I was just like running up and down the aisles. And then the only time I would stop and look at the screen was when they would blast their proton packs, whatever. But Ghostbusters is one of the funniest movies ever. Just great. It still holds up. It's still fun and funny. The second one was good. So it was like Bill and Ted 1 and 2, Wayne's World 1 and 2, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Like these are movies I just grew up with and I liked them. I don't think any of those sequels were as good as the first. Bogus Journey was not as good as the regular Bill and Ted. Ghostbusters 2, while still great, was not as good as the first one. And of course, Wayne's World 2 was no successor to Wayne's World. In fact, I think Wayne and Garth are now doing like, they're putting out fucking Uber Eats promos or something like that. It's like, oh God. So, they're any day now from making a Wayne's World 3. I think there was always talks of it or whatever, but, and of course the Ghostbusters Answer the Call movie with the women came out. Horrible. Everyone was so excited. We get a new Ghostbusters movie. Awful movie. Awful. And, Bill and Ted Face the Music. They look rough. They look old. Just the way Wayne and Garth do in the Uber Eats promos. They look bad. But hey, they're supposed to be older and parents and stuff. It wasn't good. Guys, it wasn't good. It was all over the place. They tried to introduce new characters and hold the old ones in. And, if you're like me and you like those old movies, lower your expectations. The plot is all over the place. And of course the plot erases the ending of the last one where it was like, oh, they've, the very first Bill and Ted's movie, spoiler alert, if you've never seen it. Okay. Like you're not going to go out and watch two movies you've never seen in the last, God knows how many decades so that you can watch a new one that sucks. But, the original Bill and Ted's, Excellent Adventure, the first movie, it's like they harmonize together and it's like their music, unifies the universe or whatever, right? Music is a universal language. Their music harmonizes the universe and whatever. At the end of the first movie, like they suck. In the movie, they suck. And at the end, Rufus gives them, guitars, whatever, and they just start to play and they all suck. And he looks at the camera and he goes, they do get better. And then that's the end of the first movie. Second movie ends where they play their fucking song and it's great. And there's this big montage of like covers and stuff like that of things that happen. And, their music, air guitar, cleans up pollution and stuff like that on the cover of these magazines. They're going to play a concert on the moon and everything. Like, it's like this montage of like, look, they get good and their music's incredible. And this is how they do it. So this new movie comes out and it's like, oh no, that wasn't what saved the universe. And, the new storyline is just the standard. Oh no, now you got to go back and do it. Like it was just dumb. And then the ending that's supposed to be even more grandiose than the last one was stupid. It was really stupid. So I personally, disappointedly, it's like, yeah, new Bill and Ted movie. No, doesn't hold up. Wasn't just like the Ghostbusters movie was not worth a 30-year wait. Like if you're going to bring something back that was great, you can't just like, oh, let's just throw it together like B-roll straight to video style. So they're very disappointed in a movie that I grew up loving. It was nice to see the cast again, but it's almost just like, you got to erase it. The movie was stupid. A cute little thing that they did was Kristen Schaal, whose voice you'll recognize, but maybe not know the name. Kristen Schaal plays Rufus's daughter because, of course, George Carlin has passed away. He has a very small, like holographic cameo in the movie. But his daughter, Kelly, is, that's what they call her in the movie. Kelly. Oh, you're Rufus's daughter. Well, just so you know, Kelly is also George Carlin's daughter's name. So that was just a cute little sort of nod to him and whatever. It was a shame he wasn't in it, but, anyways, yeah, Bill and Ted Face the Music. If you're somebody who is looking forward to seeing it and like the old stuff, even though it's Rotten Tomatoes certified fresh, it's starting to look like those certified fresh ones can be purchased, because this movie was not good, even with a wicked cast. Finally, oh baby, I watched a movie, another Keanu Reeves movie, called Knock Knock. I didn't know this until I was watching it. It was written and directed by Eli Roth. Eli Roth of Cabin Fever and Hostel and some other, The Green Inferno, like lots of horror type movies that Eli Roth has been a part of. He's also like executive produced a bunch of stuff. He's a friend of Tarantino's. He played the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards. So Eli's had a great career. Part of the horror movie Splat Pack, they call it. Him and James Wan, who did The Conjuring and Insidious and Saw and all that stuff, and a bunch of other guys who are just big in the horror thing. Eli Roth is one of them, but he did this movie, which probably doesn't surprise me why I didn't know it was him, is this movie called Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves, where Keanu Reeves is just this dude at home. His family goes away for the weekend and he gets a knock at the door, and it's these two gorgeous women at his door, soaking wet in the rain, asking if they can come in and use the phone and, blah, blah, blah. And he ends up having, this is right in the trailer, so it's no real spoilers. He ends up having a night of passionate sex. He blatantly tries to get away from their advances. Like, he tries hard, and even watching the movie, it's like, holy fuck, he resisted way longer than most people could. But eventually, goes to give them, like, they're like, could we just, throw our clothes in the dryer for a little bit? And he gets them robes and whatever. And he goes to tell them, hey, your clothes are dry. And he gets surrounded by two knockout gorgeous women who proceed to, cleanse his, meat popsicle with their, I don't know. all I'm saying is that it's yeah. And these are like two unbelievably gorgeous women, and there is fuckloads of nudity in this movie. So it was like, yeah. And then it was just like, and then it's just like, they won't leave. And then it was like, and it progresses from that. And now they're, two psychopaths trying to destroy him in his own home and his life and all that stuff. It was probably one of the better things that I watched, shy of like the documentary in terms of the fictional stuff that I watched. Probably the most exciting movie I watched this week. And it was just like, what the fuck is going on, and this and that. And it's sort of cool because it's like the whole movie kind of just takes place in this house. So that one I would say check out. That one is on Amazon Prime. And there we go. I talked about movies without spoiling too much. 36 minutes in. All right. So here's the story from this week. All right. Let's see if I can paint a picture. Sorry, nothing's been overly funny. But again, my entire week's efforts have been devoted to the 200th episode. So I have a friend. I had mentioned this before my episode co-hosted by Izzy, I believe 196, where we're talking about, I've got a friend of mine who's sort of stuck in a situation that's not good, not ideal. And I'm really stuck about how I can talk about this one, guys, because it's not my life. It's not my place to say, but in terms of why I did what I did, it's just, my friend is not in a good way. And like a lot of people in abusive relationships, whether it's physical, emotional, what have you, both, it's hard for that person to even recognize that they're in that relationship. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship for years and didn't know it. I did what most people do when they're in that, is assume that it's something that I'm doing, right? So you're always looking to blame yourself, and you're never really holding that other person accountable for their actions. So I've just been chatting with this friend for a while, and it's like, we've been friends for years and years, and I know who they are, and I know what kind of person they are and everything like that. And I'm just like, hey, like I dig you. We got, we're friends. We laugh, like great sense of humor, everything like that. But then when I listen to like the progression over the last few years of like where their life has gone, it's like, oh, that sucks. Okay. People are making sacrifices. Oh, fuck. You're making a lot of sacrifices. Holy fuck. Like, how do you live like that? Wow. And you're unhappy on top of it. Well, is this? And then you start asking more and more. And you're like, oh, fuck, this isn't good. And so my friend was in a situation where they were really like, they felt like they couldn't leave, like they had no options. And I was like, look, I'll come get you. You know what I mean? Do you have somewhere where you can go? Like, I know you don't drive. I know you don't this, that, whatever. You have kids. Like, I'll come get you. Do you have anyone that you can stay with, here in Ottawa? That's where they're from originally. Do you have anyone that you can? And they're like, I think so. I think I might be able to stay with my aunt. I'm like, I'm going to get off the phone with you right now, call your aunt and see if she's good to take you in for a bit. Called back. She's like, yeah, she said, absolutely come stay as long as you want. I'm like, perfect. So, no matter what, you've got somewhere to stay. You're not in that, but I go, okay, when do you want to do this? And she's like, I could do it tomorrow. And I'm like, done. So, she's about 3 hours away in the middle of the country. And I'm like, just give me your address. I will come there. So I got up. I did this on Thursday. And I just got up. I cleaned up the car so there was room for her and her kids and their stuff and whatever it is. And then I just drove there. She was even like, I think when I first asked, like, when you want to do this, she's like, well, I don't have any money coming in for like about a week or so. So I won't be able to pay you for like the gas. Like, I can't get you gas money I'm like, don't even worry about that. I go, don't let money be a factor. I go, this is on me. I'll pay to go get you and bring you back here. Just, I want to make sure that you're safe and that you don't feel like you have no options. So that's what we did. I drove there. It was a long, but didn't feel like as long a drive. Like, it was 6 hours of driving today. I was tired afterwards, but, it wasn't as long as I thought. Like, it wasn't too bad. So I picked her up and the kids, and we drove back, we chatted shit. I dropped her and her kids off at her aunt's. And then she's like, is it okay if we just grab a couple things? And I was like, absolutely. We didn't even discussed it long before in the car. And I was just like, yeah, I'll drop the kids off. So we're not carrying a bunch of, kids through a Walmart or something while you get what you need, but let's drop them off. Well, then I'll take you. Again, doesn't drive, right? So I'm like, then I'll take you to get whatever little grocery supplies you need. You're good. I came home and and that was that. It wasn't, again, like, I talked to you guys more about it, but it's kind of not my place. Like, I'm big on other people's privacy and stuff. And we'll see what comes of it. As it stands right now, I even said too, like, if you want this as an opportunity, we had a big, long talk about, this person's still in the mindset of like, what am I doing wrong? Like, they get that it's not fair. But the thing is, when you're with somebody for a long time, you always think like, well, if I change, if I do this, then maybe they'll that, or if I'm better like this, then maybe they'll be good. And it's like, this is a person who, the partner is a person who's just nothing but blaming all their problems on her. And the thing is, like, it's like, I've talked about this before. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast, but it's like having an employee, right? Like a teenage employee or a young employee, when it's like, you try to tell them like, hey, you can't do this. And then they're like, oh, I didn't do it. It's not me. It's like, someone who's just, it's never their fault. They always have an excuse. It's like, I didn't realize this because I definitely was that person at one point. It's like, you think like, oh, well, if I make an excuse, then it's not my fault and I'm not bad and I can't get in trouble. It's like, it's so much worse to have excuses for everything, because the person who's trying to reprimand you or work with you is like, they know it's you, right? They're not stupid. They know it's you. Your excuse doesn't change anything. All it lets them know is like, hey, I can't work with you. You know what I mean? Like, if you were like, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to, I apologize. Like, won't happen again. Something like that. You're like, cool, I can work with that. That's somebody who, like, if they make a mistake, they'll own it. And I can work with that, because if they need to figure out something to do, or new strategy or new method or whatever it is, like, I can work with them because they know that problem lies with them, right? First step to solving a problem is recognizing there is one. These people who have nothing but excuses, it's never their fault. It's never this. Can't work with it. I know personally that I wouldn't be able to keep somebody around. It's never their fault. It's always somebody else. So yeah, and then when you're in a relationship with somebody where they're always like, oh, it's your fault, you don't do this, and I'd be better if you did. It's like, I can't work with you. You're never like, look, I know I come home in a bad mood, and I know I'm frustrated and I'm scared because I'm supposed to be the provider and I can't do anything for you guys, and I don't know if it's going to get any better, and I don't know what the future holds. Like, it's like, well, I appreciate the vulnerability, and I appreciate that. It's like, but look, you guys are holding it down. It's like, nope, this person is failing on a daily basis, and they are doing nothing but blaming that failure on their partner, even though the partner has no control over that. So you can't work with it. At the end of the day, you can't work with somebody who it's never their fault. And it's their fault, but you can't remedy it, can't get better, because it's never their fault. So, she's unfortunately, obviously, and you still care about people, you love people, but it's just like, you're so unhappy. Like the amount of times seeing this person cry in conversation on the way back, part of it like excitement, part of it like just fear. And I go, a lot of times the fear is like someone thinks like, oh, what if I can't do better? And it's like, you can't do better than like of course you can. Like you could do better on your own, and you can't force that idea into someone's head either. Like they got to kind of realize it on their own. So you try to do your best to just listen and be supportive. But it's just like, well, you can't, it's really hard to leave those situations. A lot of people are like, well, if the person's abusive, just leave. It's like, yeah, but if you don't know you're being abused, I mean, they don't have to punch you in the face for you to be getting abused. If somebody's not supportive of any of your goals, if somebody says everything that you want is stupid, if someone says everything wrong with the current situation is your fault when it's not, you know what I mean? Like you just go, oh, well, I don't want to leave because what if I can't get better? Or what if it is my fault? What am I doing wrong? And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong. The only thing you're doing wrong is staying. So I think the conversation I had with my friend is like, look, she was even saying like, I've done this before where like, I'll go away for a couple of weeks. I'm like, yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, it's not, I go, you can do whatever you want with this. I mean, it's your decision. I said, if you just need a couple of weeks away and you're just going to go back to it, I go, that's disappointing, but that's ultimately your decision. No one can make you not go back. My suggestion was like, take this opportunity. I go, take the next 48 hours when you get there and just relax. Enjoy being able to have a bath. The person I was, picking up has no running water, has kids and has no running water, where they are. And I'm like, that's not okay. And this guy doesn't seem to care. He's fine to just go home and play video games every day and tell his wife that it's her fault that they're in this mess and doesn't spend time with the kids or anything like that. So it's just fucked up. Sorry, I apologize for being judgmental, but it's just not okay to me. And that's why I said, hey, look, if you feel like you're trapped and you don't know anyone out there and you don't have anyone to help you, I'll do it. I'll help you. You're not out of options. So my advice was like, okay, spend 48 hours enjoying the fact that you have running water, take a bath, take a shower, do whatever you want and just detox. I go, but you can't just hang out. Like she's not just hanging out. She's actually helping her aunt move and stuff. So they're packing. So they're still working every day. But I just said, but don't take this opportunity to just be gone from your life. Like we can all escape our problems, with a vacation or whatever. I'm trying to think of what, it was I think Mrs. Doubtfire is like, well, let's go on a vacation. We're different people when you get away. She goes, our problems will just be waiting for us here when we come home. And then he jokes and goes, well, let's move. Right. And hopefully our problems won't follow us. So it's like that. It's like you can go away for a trip and it'll be great and you'll feel better and then you'll come back and he'll have missed you. So there'll be a little bit of a nice phase when you come back and then it'll just go back to normal. Life won't change. People don't make real changes. So I said, take the opportunity after a couple days of rest to ask yourself what you want out of this. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be away, if you're going to take the kids and leave, like he doesn't know that she's leaving indefinitely. Because that was the thing. She's like, I can stay as long as I want, so the kids are doing their school on the computers and everything. One of them's too young he's not even in preschool. So it's like the kids are okay and safe where they are. They're not missing out of school or anything like that. So it's like, okay, I should just ask yourself, well, what do you want out of this? Is it just a little break and you're going to go back? Or do you really want to, I go basically just tell yourself like, I don't want this. If you're not happy in your relationship and you start not, you're starting to understand that it's not your fault. Well, like, because there was a lot of like, well, he said it's this and he said it's that. And I go, that's great. Do you want it either way? Whether it's your fault or his fault, you're both not happy. So just like, okay, whatever. It's my fault. Fine. I don't want it. All right. Oh, well, it's okay. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't. Okay, great. Thank you for, the accountability. I still don't want it. I don't want it. I go, just, if you don't want this, I don't want it. So who cares whose fault it is? Who cares who did what to whom? At the end of the day, if you don't want it, doesn't really matter whose fault it is. It's about, moving on or whatever. So I just said, just take your time, write down the stuff that you want, write the stuff that you, pros, cons, whatever, but it's not just a 2-week vacation, like a spending spree or getting shit faced and just running from your problems. And then, all right, well, let's just go back because nothing's accomplished that way. I said, just ask yourself what this getting away, what is the value of it? What are you going to do with it? Right. What can be gained from this? Like, what do you want this, me picking you up and bringing you here? What do you want this to be? You figure it out. You don't answer to me. Just you figure it out. That would be the exercise. What do you want from it? So yeah. And I've chatted a couple times with my friend, just make sure she seems to be doing okay. I'll check in on her a little later on today and just say, hey, how are things? Just make sure everything's still going well. But it is what it is. I'm letting anybody know if it's within my abilities to help. You can reach out to me. Where? Well, contact@onemanpodcast.com. I'll be discreet. This is a friend of mine who I also know is like, kind of outspoken, and she's public with her situation, like in a manner of speaking. But I would never, if you're like, don't disclose, I certainly wouldn't. But anybody who's in a situation and they're like, I don't want to be in this situation and I feel like I have no options, you can reach out to me. Also, I would strongly advise you to, if you can hear this podcast, you have internet access in some capacity. So Google like what to do from in a, emotionally abusive relationship, what to do from in a physically abusive. How do I leave someone, if I have kids, how do I leave someone who's violent if I have kids? Like, ask the questions, read the resources that are available. But I'm just saying, like, if you're in a situation where like, hey, I'm ready to do something and I'm stuck or whatever, feel free to reach out. If you feel like you've exhausted all your options and you're trapped, please reach out to friends and family, someone you trust. If you don't feel like you have anybody, please reach out to me. I will exhaust all my resources to try to help you out. And I don't mean like I'm going to fire money at you. If you're stuck, whatever. Yeah, I think you understand what I'm saying. So that's been my week, guys. Working hard, trying to help out where I can. Whether that's taking you to Costco with me to get groceries or driving 3 hours away to pick you up and bring you back. I want everyone to be okay, to have what they need. I'm very fortunate that I've been taken care of by people throughout the course of my life. It is definitely time to pay it forward. And I have been the last 10 years or so. I've been a different guy. I don't mean like I was like, people weren't begging me for help and I'm like, fuck you. I just mean that like, there was lots of opportunities to help people and, and just never thought of it. Right. I didn't ignore it, but it was just like, oh, maybe that's somebody who could have used a hand or whatever, It's like the old, you're walking down the street, you see some old chick shoveling her driveway. It's like, just give me the shovel, take 3 or 4 minutes, give her a little hand with that, right? Just help somebody out. Make the world a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. I would love for that to get flagged as like copyright infringement. Like, sorry, that money belongs to a dead pedophile. Oh, controversy. Guys, that's the One Man Podcast for the week. I appreciate you being here with me. Thanks for listening. Hope that you have a phenomenal week. 199 coming up next. The last episode before we hit 200. All the fruits of these recordings and labors and editing, all that's coming your way. Let's get there. Have a great week, guys. If you're looking for something fun to do, come to Absolute Comedy in Ottawa. Yours truly will be hosting, throwing the ha-has out of my face hole. AbsoluteComedy.ca to get tickets for that. And hopefully I don't bomb my fucking face off like I did on Sunday night. Looking forward to that. If anything, I'm going to have some stories from the shows to tell you guys for next week. So there's that. Who knows what other things I'll be up to, what stuff I'll watch while I'm killing time. Have a great week, guys. I will talk to you soon.